So today we're going to go back to day 3 and take a look at some of the applications of all this trig we've been doing. So as a reminder, we've been looking at triangles. So we always have to determine whether it's a right triangle or if it's a non-right triangle. And then we have our options here. For right, we can use SOHCAHTOA, or we could use the Pythagorean theorem. Whoops, that looks like an R there. And for non-right, we have the law of sines and the law of cosines.
Do I need the... Sorry.
Or the law of cosines. Sorry about that, guys. So, let's see. So this is from a while ago, but let's say you need to find P and R. So if this is 35 degrees, we have opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent. So O over H, we could say that the sine of 35 equals P over 14, and then multiply by 14. And then, let's see, Q, we could say adjacent over hypotenuse, the cosine of 35 equals Q over 14, so multiply by 14, and we'd have Q. So let's see, so we have 1 being 14 times the sine of 35. Whoa, let's try that again. 14 times sine of 35. And then we had 14 times the cosine of 35. So we had 8.03 and 11.5. So 8.03 and 11.05 would be our Q value. So basically what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at word problems here, dealing with where we can use trig here. So elevation, the angle of elevation is if you look from your horizontal, oh, this is supposed to be U and this is I's here. So the angle from the horizontal and looking up, that's your angle of elevation right here. Depression is with the horizontal again and the angle looking down. So it is this angle. So it's always the horizontal looking up, horizontal looking down. So the first question we're going to look at today. An observer stands 100 meters from the base of the building. The angle of elevation to the top is 65. So angle of elevation would be 65. How tall is the building? And we'll just pretend his height is, maybe he's 5 feet. So we could add on 5, but we'll just pretend that he's looking right on the ground. So opposite over adjacent, so we could say the tangent of 65 is x over 100 multiplied by 100. So we have 100 times the tangent of 65. So we have 214.5. All right, so the next one we're going to take a look at. And I think this goes along with, oops, that next slide. Let's see if we can, there we go. Okay, so this first one, a chairlift at a ski resort rises at an angle 20.75. So here's our ski lift going up. So it rises at 20.75 and attain a vertical height of 12,000 feet. So here's a sketch of the situation. How far does the chairlift travel up the side of the mountain? So this would be asking for x, going up that side of the mountain. So this would be opposite and hypotenuse, so the sine. So the sine of 20.75 equals x over 1200. Multiply by 1200. So we have 1200 times the sine of 20.75, 425.15. A helicopter crew in a helicopter records an overhead view of the skier's downhill run where she gets off the chairlift till when she gets back on. If the helicopter flies a level flight. So that's like saying we have a helicopter flying following here. So really that is this part down here. We could call that B. So now we have opposite. This would be the adjacent. So we could say that the tangent of 20.75 equals opposite over adjacent. So multiply times B. So now we have B times the tangent of 20.75 equals, I think it was 1200, my bad. So we divide by the tan of 20.75. It's got a little messy, I'm sorry, but that opposite was 1200. So, I already forgot what we were typing in here. So 1200 divided by tan of 20.75. So we have 3167.35. So the next thing we're going to talk about here, well, we have one more problem here. A person standing 100 feet from the base of the cliff to the top of a cliff. The angle of elevation to the top of the cliff is 300, to the tower is 85. How tall is the tower? So let's see, we have two triangles right here. So this is 30, this is 100. And then we have another one where this is still at 100, but this is 58. So if we look here, the tower would be the entire thing minus this bottom part. So we could say we need to find y in both of these. So we got the tangent of 30 equals y over 100 multiplied by 100. 100 times the tangent of 30, 57.74. Where this one we'd have the tangent of 58 equals y over 100. So multiply times 100. So we have 100 times the tangent of 58, 160.3. And then to find the 2, we'd subtract it. So 160.3 minus 57.74. So minus, we could go back up here and grab this one. So we end up with 102.3 feet. All right, so next we're going to talk about compass points. So on a compass, we have our north, south, west, and east. And now there's a couple ways that we say are bearings. Bearings are our directions given to us. So for example, if I said north 45 degrees of east, what this means is we start at north. So imagine your compass. So here's north and east, and we are going 40 degrees east. So this would be 40 degrees right here. If you had west and it was then 20 degrees south, so west and south, we start facing west and we're going to go 20 degrees south of that. And here would be our angle here. If there are no directions, for example, 0, so if you just had 35 degrees, if it said like a bearing of 35 degrees, what that means is clockwise from due north. So for example, you're always saying that this is from looking north and it's 35 degrees. It doesn't matter if it was let's say it was at a bearing of 135 degrees. So it's always due north, and 135, well, here would be 90. So this angle here would be 135 degrees. So the final one that we're going to look at here, we have two ships leave at the same time. A ship A sails due north for 30 kilometers. So, whoops, lost that. Let's see if we can get that again. Here we go. So it's just sailing due north for 30 kilometers. Ship B sails on a bearing of 50 degrees, so that means it's 50 degrees from due north. So this one's due north, so 50 degrees for 65 kilometers before dropping anchor. Find the distance between the two ships. So we have this triangle. I'm going to put this 30 here on the outside. And it's a non-right triangle, so we could use law of sines or cosines. Well, we don't have an angle on the side opposite, so we have to use law of sines. So we have x squared equals 30 squared plus 65 squared. 2 times 30 times 65 times the cosine of 50. So if we type that in, 30 squared plus 65 squared minus 2 times 30 times 65 times the cosine of 50. So we end up with 2618. And then we take the square root of that. All right, so we have 51.2 kilometers approximately.